Jim, let's return to Earth and let's go to Montreal, Quebec, Canada, which is still on planet Earth as we record here today. And why don't we talk about Saturday night's main event?
Just barely still on the planet, but apparently it was the same temperature in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, as it was in Louisville, Kentucky while I was watching the program. They say it was like fucking, the wind chill was 13 below. It was same thing we had.
Doesn't stop them. They're used to it.
The first thing I'm going to say about Saturday night's main event is why, oh why, if Joe Tessitore was stuck in Detroit, and he was legitimately, because they had him do I guess one of their boxing ventures, they had him calling boxing the night before he's supposed to call wrestling, and he couldn't get from Detroit to Montreal because of the flight cancellations. But instead of they had Michael Cole and Wade Barrett, instead of just abandoning the premise of the Saturday night's main event host desk, because they didn't have Jesse, obviously, and I'm sure after Jesse's recent comments, neither side is displeased that he wasn't there. But why keep that and just have Stephanie out there to explain that the guy who's supposed to be standing here twice on this show and without even a reason for him anymore, because Jesse's not a part of this thing, but he can't be here, so I'm going to stand here and do what he would have done. Or why didn't they just go down to the announcers, Michael Cole and Wade Barrett? Hey, Joe Tessitore would love to be here. Do you see what I'm saying? She is the shits. She is rotten as a host. She's not peppy. She's not cheerful. She's got rotten inflections. She comes across as ungenuine. What did you see any of these attributes in her?
No, and I've ripped on her in the past. I think it was the last Saturday night's main event where we talked about it. I said she's horrible hosting, and I was with someone. She comes across as disingenuous. She screeches. She's not, other than playing a heel character as everyone's boss who no one ever gets revenge from. Yeah. She's not a good on-air character. She doesn't have a pleasant voice. I mean, I hate to really nitpick, but her voice isn't a host's voice. She screeches. She's not a good on-air presenter. And unfortunately, her entire life has been WWE. She's never worked anywhere else. She's never done anything. She's never had anyone say, hey, you know what? Let's try to poach Stephanie from WWE. She'd really help our business. And now, for the rest of her life, it's going to be them trying to cram her on this show to find something for her to do. Because she has nothing to do. She has a podcast no one cares about. She's hosting on these shows all of a sudden, where for a while she was getting a sympathetic babyface pop just because she was the daughter of Vince and everyone hated Vince and everyone thought, well, she must be on our side.
She's the normal one. Let's support her.
But no, this is even on Unreal. Like, there are wrestlers in back at Gorilla having their post-match commiseration, hug, whatever it is. All of a sudden, she's there. They had a shot of Lyra Valkyria and Becky Lynch after their thing talking, and then Stephanie's like, hey, let's get a picture of 3 Irish girls. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Christ.
Get out of here. Seriously. Stop trying to find a place for yourself. You were only there because you were Vince McMahon's daughter. You were horrible and creative. You were incredible as an on-air heel character, but it never had any payoff because other than Vicky Guerrero quickly throwing her in mud, I don't think Stephanie there was no payoff to her being the heel for years. It's just, she disappeared, and then Vince disappeared, and then you cheered for Stephanie the next time you saw her, because she was a McMahon not named Vince. And this is going to be an ongoing problem. They're going to keep trying to find things for her to do, and she's not an on-air presenter or host, and quite frankly, I don't know what she can do. I don't know what she could do without her family propping her up.
It's like she's talking like I'm trying to be cheerful, but I hate all you people.
My mom's going to get rid of all your schools. Oh, did I say that out loud? That should be the gimmick. Teacher. Bring her back as a heel and just have her unofficially as like Linda's spokesperson. That'll get her some heel heat.
Oh, but you're right. Yeah, she's sitting at the gorilla position. Just you see her in some of the shots, just sit in the background. Like, why are you there? Is this bring your wife to work day for Triple H? What?
I have the business in my blood. Yeah, because your dad, you go to the warehouse. You're like, what the fuck? You know, Andre the Giant was my best friend. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. It wasn't.
I used to tap dance in the palm of his hand. Yeah. Somebody, when she was a kid, somebody read her Thumbelina with a and all right. But we got to talk about the show. And I was looking forward to one thing. Jacob Fatu against Cody Rhodes. For all the reasons I've said, I'm a big fan of Jacob Fatu. I want to see him have the main event match and blah, blah, blah. And again, when he did the walking promo when he goes through Gorilla, but he's talking. And you see it's just, I'm not saying he's got bad body hygiene, but he's dirtier, he's meaner, he's wilder, he's more intimidating, he's more convincing verbally. He's the guy that you think might fucking go off. This is what I was talking about. And then you have Cody's entrance, and as Cody gets up on the ropes for the whoa, Fatu jumps him and they jumpstart it. And they start having a big fight. And at first, I think Cole said, well, we're off and running. And Barrett had to remind him, well, the bell hasn't actually rung yet. And then I was like, uh-oh, they're going to do the same thing. Again. They're going to have a big fight. Yeah, this again. Like AEW, a big fight, and then they ring the bell. Well, little did I know. But they bumped the referee, and then here came more referees and agents in and security. And this again, all these security guys come out. My God, is it just because I've spent so many decades of my life in various arenas, large and small, and professional and unprofessional, but I know what real security people looks like, and these aren't them. And why did they all have jazz hands? It's just, if they can't coach these guys on how to do it, then I wish they would. Hey, either they've got $12 billion, bring their fucking own. Get a couple of 40-year-old guys that look like they're security guards. But anyway, Fatu did the big dive on the pile. And then here's what I didn't like about this. Well, there's a few things I didn't like about this, but the thing that kept happening throughout the fight that they're about to have, that they started at that point when Fatu did that big dive flip dive off the top onto the pile, and Cody wasn't really under it, but everybody went down. But they're telling Jacob Fatu, go to the back, and they're pointing, go to the back, and he starts walking to the back. And he's the one that jumped Cody. And as he's walking to the back, Cody runs and jumps on Jacob in the aisle, and they start fighting again. And they go back to the ring and through the ring and back to out the other side and over the desk and into the crowd in the back of the arena. Here's another thing I didn't like about it. And there's going to be I'm sorry if I'm going to get too deep for everybody today, but you might learn something about wrestling. I'm directing it towards some of the producers and personnel in the WWE. There's going to be a theme to some of this. As they're fighting through the crowd and up the stairs of the arena so they can go out in the concourse and do a miniature concession stand spot and everything. Brian, did you see while they go up the stairs, they're within inches of, in some cases, of the fans. They're going right through the fans. The fans aren't ducking. Even the women, they're smiling. The kids are thrilled. You know, maybe the kids I could understand, but nobody is, they're totally not scared of even getting potatoed by accident on a drawback. And that's the picture we're seeing on camera while they're fulfilling the modern wrestling obligation of fighting through the crowds. They can fight up the side in the concourse and walk around the arena. The people aren't, they're cheering them on, yes. And when they've got them held back and they're cheering them on from a distance, that's fine. But when they're this close to the guys and they're not scared of even getting hit by accident, then it is the visual you're getting as a viewer. You're killing the whole deal, really, but especially Jacob Fatu. So first, he instituted the jump start, but when the security was telling him to leave, he started to walk away. That's kind of a heel move. Then he's fighting through the crowd, and the women and children next to him are smiling and laughing about it, which indicates that he is not as intimidating to people in person than he seems to be on my television. And then besides, when they go to the concourse and the concession stand and they throw some of the one of the stooges through a table and throw the other stooge on the other fucking stooges, it's more of the walk fighting. And again, the fans just willingly being next to all that without any concern for their safety does not give you the visual you want to project. And then, as they're standing there, Drew McIntyre comes out and throws Jacob Fatu off the railing or the barricade or whatever the fuck they were standing on through a table on one side, and then power bombs Cody through a table on the other side and walks off. And we got the main event, in my opinion, which was this match. We didn't have a match, and that went 10 minutes. So it was this in a shorter version. It could have been an angle between two guys to then book a match and say, well, we're going to settle this with a fucking street fight. But now they've already had a whole goddamn street fight. So do we ever get the fucking match? Probably not, because we're going to get a three-way. So my opinion is none of this helped. And Jacob Fatu, again, a second time, obeyed security and was walking away from Cody when Cody had to run and tackle him. That's not him. It's not he's not a mad werewolf that way. There should have been an equivalent of Jacob Fatu needs to stay on Cody until the fucking security pulls him off, and then yes, he can deal with them and Cody can jump him and vice versa, but he should never have started walking off at their behest. So I really didn't like any of this, now that I come to think of it. Did you?
I started getting into it, and then they've done what they are doing all the time now. They killed me with the finish. Another interference. We'll talk about the main event of Raw in a little while, but as soon as they announced it, I said, shit, it's going to be a good match. It's going to end with interference. I already know it, because it's all they do. And then back to another three-way. After the angle
they did throw you a curve. They didn't have a match with a shitty finish. They just had a shitty finish without actually even having a match.
They got me interested in seeing Jacob Fatu and Cody. They did a good enough job in that angle on Friday without Drew McIntyre's involvement in making me actually want to see these two guys. What for? Why even do that if this is what you were going to do here? And it's a three-way, and I don't want to see the three-way. And they book Cody into the dirt. Whatever you think of Cody, the last year has not done him any favors, and he at this point now is a babyface being booked in a way that it's almost like they want people to start booing him. Some of the decisions they've made with Cody are questionable. And this is, again, another three-way, which is the only thing that stops this from being completely fresh, is Drew and Cody being in a three-way with Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu and Cody's fresh. And Jacob Fatu, again, he's a babyface heel. So people are going to cheer him. Cody hasn't given you anything to cheer for in a while. I didn't like this at all. And again, it was a bad opening sign to the show when the match really started getting going. And after the opening brawl, but I was getting into it. Let's see how they're going to get out of this. What are they going to do? The interference, I don't think WWE fans like it. And again, I understand it's a mechanism. It's an angle to get to something else. But
even still, it was just like, here all of us out of nowhere. I mean, if you go back and look at a variety of great matches from whatever period of time, they tend to build to where, oh my gosh, oh shit. It's like they're almost there anyway, and then something happens. Instead of just, all right, we've fought long enough, so now here Drew shows up and just boom, boom. But again, this was 10 minutes. But couldn't they have done 8 to 10 minutes of wild action in and around ringside? Hand to hand, as they say, and had a hell of a, again, think of Midnight Fantastics Clash of Champions in Greensboro, or any Memphis main event where they just hit the ground running and go 8 minutes wild, and show that Fatu is a crazy man, and show that Cody and he are competitive, so you keep everybody elevated, and then let Drew come out. And again, if they're going to have interference, at least let it be a point where you tease the idea, my God, Jacob is on the top rope. He's about to splash him or whatever. Maybe he's got, some way or another, he's got Cody. And Drew interferes from behind to stop it. And Cody gets on Drew or whatever, but then Fatu is fucking mad because he cost him his chance, but he still thinks he can beat. There's 18 million ways you can do it. Instead of just out in the arena, let's just jerk two guys through the table all of a sudden. No match, no finish, no decision.
Even if you were going to do this finish, and I hate the finish. I was just watching some 86, 87 UWF, which I've always liked. The in-ring brawl is kind of like a lost art. Every now and then they go to the floor. Maybe a chair will get used, but Duggan and Terry Gordy, or Terry Gordy and Steve Williams in 86, those were in-ring brawls. It looked like they were kicking the crap out of each other, and they didn't have to go all over the arena. You bought it because they were on the giant stage called a wrestling ring. So everyone could see them.
Under the lights. Yeah. Under the lights where we can see it.
And that's what this could have been. This could have been these two guys going back and forth, kicking the shit out of each other in the ring. Would have gotten people really invested in it. Because the other thing is the brawl around the arena, too much. We've seen it all the time. It's not special. It is as special as a match in the ring. It's the same level of specialness at this point.
Well, and also they can't take any bumps. And Jacob was trying to super kick Cody while Cody was going down the stairs, the arena stairs, and Cody's just having to wait for his foot because they're gonna turn their ankle, blow a knee, break a leg, whatever, doing this stupid up the stairs and down the stairs bullshit. And that was not worse for their cardio, but expended more cardio effort to go all of those places around the arena that if they were taking bumps and providing action in the middle of the ring instead of fake wandering around.
Yeah, instead of the fake security guards, give all of those wrestling trainees a ticket and have them sit in one section and just have like Jacob Fatu throw Cody into the fans.
There you go.
And you don't know they're fans because the security guard's wearing everyday clothes. But not good. Again, WWE's beating me and a lot of other people down right now where it's like you want to give him a chance, and the booking is what's getting you. The booking is what's killing you. But that was the opening match. Jacob Fatu and Cody, and I guess, like you said, it sets up a three-way, which I'm certainly not too excited to see. I don't know about anyone else.
Well, that's the thing. Another multiple man match for a title. And it works better this time in theory in a vacuum because you do have one babyface, one heel, and one guy in between that hates both, but that is over. That's why if this was the first three-way that we'd seen in a couple of years, they might have something. But now it's just, oh my God, again. And they're going to lay it out the same way. They're not going to, not to go off on a tangent, but when we had the first one with Brian Lee, what was it? Tracy Smothers, Dirty White Boy, and Brian Lee.
Right, 93.
In 93 in Knoxville, I went through the match with them and already had thought up a couple of things to give anybody who took a bump out of the ring or was out of the match for any period of time had a reason for it. This guy was thrown over the top rope and blah, 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 and took a bump or whatever. And the other two guys, as he's coming up, somebody hit the rope and knocked him back through a fucking chair. When he finally got it, there was reasons for everyone's absence. We were careful to do that and account for everybody through the whole match, but that everybody was still fighting for themselves. And now it's just, okay, these guys can go a minute and a half or two, so I'm just going to roll out and disappear. I fucking hate it because I know the fans can see in the building where they are, even if television isn't shooting them, and that has to look just like shit. Just have a guy just sitting there, just staring, waiting for his cue. I'm just off on a platform again. I apologize.
Well, I think a lot of other people are on that platform with you, or at least want to hear your platform. I don't know exactly how to make this work, but Jim...
How would that platform be constructed? Would it have a trap door in it and potentially a fucking rope involved?
I'm not exactly sure, but you know, Jim, Saturday night's main event was on Peacock. And of course, SmackDown was on USA and Raw was on Netflix this past week, and the Royal Rumble's coming up, and that will be on ESPN. A lot of
just
places.
Everywhere. I forgot about that. The ESPN app, which is actually labeled Disney in a lot of places.
Well, Disney owns ESPN. A lot of people have to go to Disney Plus to get to ESPN's $30 a month app.
Yes, you got to go everywhere now.
Got to go everywhere. You got to spend a ton of money.
A lot of money.
This is an American problem. This is not a international problem. This is not a Canadian problem. This is an American problem.
One of the many we've got here is the problem with the streaming. We're getting we're the ones that are getting the stream right in our faces.
However, Jim, this is one of the problems that there is a solution for. We have a cure.
We can fix it.
That's right. We can fix it, and we will fix it by telling you about our friends at SurfSHARK.
We can make it better than it was before. Because right now, folks, not only can our friends over at SurfSHARK help protect you from the mean, evil outside world where all the dark web and the sinister forces and the evil, sadistic Marquis de Sade-like individuals that are waiting to pounce upon you and your family on the internet, they will be banished forevermore by our friends at SurfSHARK, because SurfSHARK goes in there with a literal shark. They will go in there with this big tooth motherfucker, and they will clean these son of a bitches out of your computer, and they will provide like a moat around your home, a moat with and these sharks are not just ordinary sharks, folks. They are just infested with some kind of goddamn deadly illness.
Well, Jim, let me
as soon as they bite you, you're going to die of poisoning before they got a chance to eat your ass.
Again, let me just jump in and say this is a wonderful tale you have. The only word you got wrong was literal. This is metaphorical, a metaphorical example of the type of digital sharks that SurfSHARK, in your example, has in their arsenal.
Is going to let loose. Yes. They're gonna sick into the moat around your home. Yes, that's why I said metaphorically, literally. You're going to have a moat of sharks around your home and your computer to protect you and your children. And some of these sharks They're going to bite also people with no clothing will try to come through this moat to flash your children, and the sharks are going to bite their fucking wang dangs off.
It would be.
They're just going to, if it dangles in front of these sharks, they're going to bite it off.
Once again, this is literally metaphorical.
Vienna sausage.
Literally.
This is literally metaphorical. They're going to bite off the wang dangles of these naked people trying to flash your children on the internet.
Well,
if you go to Surfshark, but also you can save that money because you can just tell Surfshark to tell all these other people that you're vacationing on the beaches of Bolivia or over in Switzerland,
Canada,
or maybe some other country like Canada, a civilized country on the North American continent that doesn't have to pay all these ridiculous prices for all of these things and or get commercials in these things in these ways. And you can just run under the radar, provided the radar thinks you're in Canada or Bolivia. You see how easy it is.
It's very easy.
And just all you got to do is figure out what do you want your assumed name to be and take a picture for your passport.
Well, go right now. You don't have to do that, but what you go right now is, I believe, what you do have to do. Yes.
Yes, go right now to surfshark.com/JCE, because if you use the code JCE at checkout, then you're going to get 4 extra months of Surfshark VPN besides what you sign up for. So you will get an additional 4 months at no charge of those months once you sign up for your plan, and they will protect you and help you and relocate you for an even longer period of time. And again, take a nice clear picture, topless is okay, for your passport, and tell them what country you want to be in, what you'd like your phony occupation to be, and what you want your new name to be. For example, do you want to be an international yacht broker from Toulon, France, named Jean-Pierre? Well, then just let them know.
Once again, this is not how any of this works, but what you could do is go to surfshark.com/JCE, sign up.
Everything I said.
You sign up, you'll get 4 months extra when you sign up for a 2-year plan with the code JCE, and then for 2 years,
you are
and
just
4
repeating.
Months, for 2 years and 4 months, you will not have to worry about whatever WWE and TKO and Netflix and everyone else is going to do to your wallet, to your ability to stream easily. Surfshark will take care of all of that.
Or to your ability to leave the country.
Once again, not necessarily one of the examples.
But you're just repeating all the things that I've already said.
I'm
sign up for that 2 years. You get 4 extra months free.
Yes.
Surfshark.com/JCE. That's the code. And then again, just if you don't want to take any members of your family, it will save money on the fucking cargo ship.
It's a metaphorical cargo ship.
You're only going.
You're
well,
not. No,
that's right. It's called the metaphor. It docks in Delray Beach, Florida. But just tell them whether you're going to take any family members or not, because they got to set room aside.
Once again, problems you won't have to worry about. Another thing you won't have to worry about will be the price and the ability to stream wrestling premium live events. Once again, surfshark.com/JCE. Use the code JCE.
That's it.
All right, Jim. Well, let's keep riding that wave. Let's get back to Montreal, Quebec, Canada, the city that Yvonne Robert made famous, as well as Rusty Staub. Let's go back to Saturday night's main event.
What about Eddie Auger?
I don't know. I heard there's going to be an Eddie Auger action figure. I can't wait to get that so people can come over and say, who's that?
They're taking pre-orders right now, from what I understand. Anyway, well, you know what the next match was, Brian, on Saturday night's main event? And what's a boy to do? I've already got jacked out of my main event match I wanted to see, and now we have Rhea Ripley, the great Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky teaming up against Liv Morgan and Roxanne Perez. So it continues to be a rib on me that my all-time favorite female wrestler in the history of wrestling is teamed up with the poster girl for everything I don't like about modern women's wrestling. And I know a bunch of people just love Io Sky, but let me clarify this. Let me let me, as Don Knotts would in The Ghost and Mr. Chicken, let me clarify this. Japanese wrestling is just like American wrestling. It used to be great, and I loved it. But now it's all fake bullshit, and I don't. And EO maybe can do all the moves just wonderfully and dive off the top rope with a trash can on her head. But the grinning, the acting or lack of lacting, she's lacting. The constipation voice, the silly fakeness of everything with the diminutive size coupled with the fact that every other Japanese female wrestler is presented in the same over-the-top fashion, whether they're either kabuki warriors in this company that all do similar things, or the goddamn ones that imitate them in the other company and do all the same things, but not as well and stupider, has spoiled me on watching this shit. And it's not that I'm being sexist or racist, because I didn't say that I didn't like Japanese women because they are either women or Japanese. I don't like the Japanese women wrestlers because it's all horseshit. I was a big Pink Lady fan, Brian. If a Japanese person is singing, I have no problem. Or if a woman is doing something else, I have no problem. But when a Japanese woman is doing silly fucking wrestling, that's what's put me off this shit.
When you say silly wrestling, are you specifically talking about the way WWE is presenting her, and you got to think her or Asuka, whoever, lean into the way WWE wants to present them? Or are you specifically talking about like the work? Because I agree with a lot of your complaints about Io Sky's. I see people pointing out the 12-year-old, pointing at her head and just, it's silly.
Yes.
It doesn't seem like a real person. In the ring,
she dives off the top of shit wearing a trash can.
In the ring, she's really good.
Endear me to a man or a woman.
See, I think she's really good in the ring. I don't like the stuff around her, but that may be the stuff that actually makes the fans there like her. I don't know.
That's the part of it. It's, again, it shows that a 5-foot-tall, 100-pound grinning woman who's presented with the mentality of a 12-year-old can do all this shit the same as all the top fucking guys and or girls and stars. And then when you pair it with Io does her cartwheels and things that she does, and then Roxanne got on the top of her with this is the first minute of the match and windmilled her arms in the air. Not even with her fists clenched. Well, Io was just covered up there, and Roxanne didn't land anything or act like she was trying to land anything. There's a high definition camera right on them. What the fuck is going on?
I like this match. I thought it was the best match on this show. However, you're exactly right. That was embarrassing.
That's otherwise than I went to see fucking the Rolling Stones and Mick had that projectile fucking diarrhea right during Jumpin' Jack Flash, but otherwise it was a great show. It's just, I'm sorry, but I don't know how else to say it. It's not that I don't like Japanese people. I feel the same way about them as I do about American wrestling. I like all the American people that don't do bad wrestling. There's just not that many of them. Same with Japan. My God. It's not that hard to figure out. And Rhea is capable of more than this playtime bullshit. But nevertheless, on the finish, after a referee bump, our friend Rochelle came out from her journey from Minsk to Montreal and she wiped out Rhea Ripley, and she power bombed Io Sky flat on her back on the floor. Boom. And rolled her in the ring. And then Stephanie Vacker came out and got in a fight with Rochelle, and they fought into the crowd and in the back. And then Roxanne Perez covered Io, who had just been power bombed on the floor. Referee was up 1, 2. No, a 2 count after the power bomb on the floor. And then Roxanne tagged Liv in, who hit her finish on Io, but Rhea had tagged Io and then hit the Riptide on Roxanne. But now that I think about it, I thought Liv was legal. Well, nevertheless, maybe I missed that part, but nevertheless, Rhea went over. I have no problem with that. But boy, howdy. There's 4 matches advertised for this show. We end up getting 3, and one of them was this one.
Again, I thought this was the best match on the show. Again, I didn't think this show was that great, but I thought this is the best match. Taking Io Sky out of the equation, taking Roxanne out of the equation. And you're right, those those punches were pretty embarrassing. I don't know about Mick Jagger. Diarrhea. Whatever you talked to. I believe Mick Jagger's Diarrhea.
Well, he is 80.
I believe that's called the album She's the Boss. But Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan are 2 of the best in the company. Not just best women, they're 2 of the best in the company. Liv Morgan is possibly the best heel in the company. Can't take your eyes off her when she's out there. It's not just because she's a good-looking girl. She is always doing something. She's always committed to being the heel Liv Morgan.
Yes.
So I enjoyed the hell out of this. I think Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan are 2 of the very best in the entire company, and they made this really good. Roxanne, I think, is good. She didn't necessarily show it here. Io is really good, and I've seen some matches of hers that I really like, and I can't disagree with your assessment of her character or the presentation of her.
Every time I try to watch some of the shit they do when they do an angle where they remember the one where they were all crying?
That was the one where everyone was like, just give it a chance, give it a chance. And the week we did, it was the worst acting we've ever seen on wrestling.
And anywho,
what do you think? Hold on, if I could just stop you real quick before you forward. What do you think was the best match on this show?
Does there have to be one?
There has to be one. There has to be one. You have to pick one.
Well, geez. Yeah. Maybe it was the fight just because Fatu was in it. I don't know, because we got a 4-way in a singles match with, AJ and old Shaky wasn't bad. When you take into account, because what's been my problem with Nakamura for past several years since we've seen him, he has no physique. He looks like he's 100 years old, and he moves like a broken down old man. But now that I've seen Okada and Ishii and Tanahashi and all of those over the hill gang members of the Japanese promotion that Tony Khan has brought in, Nakamura looks like Bruce Lee.
He was the first one to get out. He was the first one to leave and sign with an American company, WWE. The rest of them stayed over there a few more years, a few more G1 climaxes, and destroyed their bodies.
They look like they've climaxed their last time already.
It's weird. They always worked a physical style. I mean, that was one of the things that stood out about 80s or 90s Japanese wrestling. It was a lot more physical than what you saw here in America, especially All Japan. But I feel like these guys are all broken down quicker, younger than those guys were. And I think those guys worked more. Whatever that says.
The same thing. The marks took over. And again, I got regular Japanese tapes through the entire decade of the 80s, where not only was there great talent in Japan, but also all the top Americans went there, and they had hard-hitting matches, and Obviously, there was always gimmick guys even in Japan, but they didn't just have fake silliness. But they had hard hitting matches with professionals like the guys that made it over there and that lasted and that were used on top could do the style just as well as they could do American wrestling. Whether it be Gordy and Williams or fucking the top stars of the NWA for 20 years went for Baba. The in-ring guys, the best in Europe, went for Inoki. But it was still not marks just dropping themselves on their heads and getting up without selling suplexes and pile drivers and a variety of shit over and over and over and standing there and trading forearms with each other. That was when their generation of in-ring marks took over the business. Our generation of in-ring marks trained on trampolines. Their generation of in-ring marks still believed the shit was mostly real. Am I lying when you think about it?
I guess not.
So there you have it. Oh, but Nakamura wrestled AJ, didn't he?
Oh, that's right. We were I was wondering what we were talking about.
Yes.
Where were we on this show? That's
well,
right.
with Nakamura. And AJ is tremendous in ring, and he's still, I'm sure he's got aches and pains, and he's retiring this year, and I'm confused about this. He may be retiring this week, but he's still in great looking shape. And, Nakamura's a guy. I think this meant a lot to them. They wanted to work with each other. But I'm thinking if AJ's fighting Gunther in a week and it takes him 20 minutes to beat Nakamura, then his career may be in trouble. But they went about 20 minutes and then AJ beat him with Styles Clash. And, they did the fist respect bump type of thing and all that stuff. But it was a good wrestling match. But again, it was AJ's figured in, but Nakamura's not been a guy that's been on top for a while. So it was just a long, quality wrestling match. But there wasn't anything wrong with it, but nobody really came to see that. That particular match is what I'm talking about.
Did you see or hear about Nakamura's Instagram post?
Well, he apparently stooged that AJ was going to retire at the Royal Rumble, didn't he? But is that an accidental stooge from a guy that is from English is his second language, but he's been around here a long time? Or is that deliberately planted? That's why I'm confused.
Well, real quick, I'll read this portion. It's a long post that he has since deleted. During last year's Australia tour at a house show in Melbourne, AJ gave a speech after the match. Listening to it, it was clear that he was thanking the fans. But somehow, it also felt like he was hinting that retirement might not be that far away. The tour continued in Japan, and before the shows there, I asked him something. We were in a van on the way to the meet and greet. I asked him, "When are you going to retire?" He answered, "The Royal Rumble. I've already decided."
Oh.
Me, and then his ... 3 exclamation points. Whether I actually said it out loud or just thought it for a split second, I'm not sure, but I remember it clearly. He said, his quotes now, "Before you retire, I want to wrestle you one more time." AJ nodded. So again, there's a whole lot more there, but that's the main focus, him saying that AJ said that he was going to have his last match at the Royal Rumble.
Well, let me ask you this first. Is Nakamura just incredibly professorially fluent in English, or is he using some kind of translation thing? And how come when Ibushi writes shit, he still sounds like he's writing at a third grade level in any language? Is he using the wrong translation gimmick, or what's the difference there?
They are both Japanese. I would hate to compare Nakamura to Ibushi, who seems to be in a class all his own. I don't know if he had a shibotomy. I don't know what his problem is, but he seems to be completely out of it, either walking or talking or writing. I don't know if when Kenny Omega's the brains of the operation, you have to wonder how messed up Ibushi must be.
Well, I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a shibotomy, but nevertheless.
I don't know, though, if this was originally posted in Japanese or English, because, again, it's gone. I'm reading a transcript of it. But what do you think about the fact that this was posted in the first place?
Well, again, if they wanted to work with each other and they're friends, I would think that the language barrier wouldn't prevent Nakamura from knowing that he probably shouldn't give away. It's an ongoing story on television that AJ is retiring and now he's risking his career. That's already kind of a giveaway enough without. That's why I was wondering if they did it on purpose and then deleted it to make people think there was something to it because we're talking about it. But then the problem becomes AJ Styles is wrestling Gunther at the Royal Rumble. And even if AJ Styles wasn't retiring this year, there's no way right now in the various presentation of the two that AJ Styles should beat Gunther. But if Gunther beats AJ Styles and AJ Styles has put his career up, then he sure didn't get no goddamn. We just heard he's thinking of retiring from a public announcement. What, recently? So 2026 is not going to be a long retirement tour unless he beats Gunther. So I can't figure out what they're doing here.
Unless someone, I'm not justifying this, unless someone screws over Gunther to set up a bigger program of Gunther against someone else who's offended that he keeps trying to retire these guys, Goldberg, Cena, AJ, and whoever else is next.
Well, but eventually we're hopefully building to a match with Gunther and Brock Lesnar, who I understand is going to be in Saudi Arabia. But that wouldn't make any sense for Brock Lesnar wouldn't take up for anybody or, you've destroyed my friend's legacy. I can't figure out what they're doing here unless AJ just told him, yeah, I'm done in January. Write me out. I don't know.
Well, we shall see, but there's one more match on this lackluster episode of Saturday Night's Main Event to talk about.
Oh,
and by the way, let me ask you this. Do you think this is the worst episode of Saturday Night's Main Event they've had since they brought it back?
Probably. Wouldn't it be?
I think so.
I mean, Jesse's starting to look good at this point.
It's a nothing burger. This is like the biggest nothing burger of the Saturday Night's Main Events they've had.
Well, because that's the thing. I almost forgot I had to go to Peacock. I started to go to Netflix because now I'm used to that. But Peacock has to feel like a lame duck or a limp dick, one or the other. There's some kind of cock pun in there. But this four-way for the number one, again, multiple four-way for the number one contender for the blah, blah, blah. Okay, we know going in that Sammy's going to win the thing because they're in Montreal, and he should. If he's in this thing, he should win it.
They're in Montreal, and it's for a title shot in Saudi Arabia. It was clear as day he was going to win this.
Yeah, and he's gone from he can't go to the country for fear that they'll fucking abduct him and do horrible things to him to they're carrying him around on their shoulders. I think you tried to explain it to me one time why that they were all mad and it's those various religion things and whatever. But you got Sami Zayn. You've got Randy Orton because they do need some type of name value in this thing. And I'm not saying Sammy's not a name, but again, there's four of them. Damian Priest, who has not cracked through. And Trick Williams right now is nobody because he just started on the main roster. And it's three baby faces and one heel. So Damian Priest was double fucked because at least the heel You know, he can get some fucking heat out of this some way, but Priest is just like the third guy. He's not even the best friend in the movie. There's the star, the best friend, and then he's the guy that drives the best friend around. But that's the thing. We got no match for the main event with Jacob and Cody. We got a girls tag team match. We got AJ and Nakamura and this, and they've got 200 wrestlers under contract. So Orton was the smartest worker. We know that. Sami Zayn's the best athletically. Trick is as stiff as a board and green. He's a good athlete, but all of his body movements need to loosen up. He's tighter than a banjo string, as the veterans used to say. And he needs to loosen up and follow through and just get more comfortable. And Damian Priest is, what do the kids say, Brian? 6'7"? A little 6'7"? I think he really is. But he's also 6'7". Or as Mama Cornette used to say, come see, come saw. So to me, it's four guys having about 21-minute matches. And they just trade out. And it didn't really build. It didn't really lag. It was just the same stuff as any other four-way. And then out of nowhere, Sami Zayn and Trick were on a top turnbuckle. And Priest gave Sami a razor's edge and kicked Trick off the apron. But then Sami turned around and haluva kicked Priest in the face. Boom, 1, 2, 3. And Orton had taken a choke slam from Priest and rolled out of the ring like 2 minutes beforehand, and you never saw him again. So he was, again, the smartest guy because he didn't get any on him and you forgot he was involved. But did this build up into a classic where you couldn't wait to see who was going to snatch the victory from the jaws of defeat? Or just, well, it's time, finish up?
I think everyone was just waiting for Sami to get the win because it was clear he was going to get the win. This didn't do it for me. I'm sick of four-way matches, just like I'm sick of three-way matches. Everything I've hated on AEW TV has just polluted all over WWE TV. And no, I didn't give a shit about this. I think there's been a lot of, Montreal aside, Saudi Arabia aside, I've seen a lot of pushback from people about the push for Sami Zayn. Seems like a lot of WWE fans are kind of over Sami Zayn, and they're a little sick of him. And now he's getting the biggest push he's gotten since the Roman Reigns match a few years ago. So we'll see where they go with this.
But see, here's the thing. Sami is kind of established. He's a popular guy with a certain segment, and he's been used very well, and he's always going to get a pop, and he's going to work hard for you and have a good match. I can see with Montreal and Saudi Arabia so close together, that was a legitimate business decision that I could not disagree with, to say, okay, we're going to have Sami win a big match in his hometown in front of 13,000 people or whatever it was, and go to Saudi Arabia where they love him and have a big match, and the people are going to cheer, and that's going to make these fucking rich cocksuckers that paid us $50 or $100 million or whatever they got happy. As a business decision.
But who goes over?
Well, who's he? Which shot is he going for? I'm trying to think. Who's the champion now? What the fuck is going on? Who's he wrestling?
Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship.
Okay, there you go. For Drew. Well, Drew's going to beat him. And Drew's going to get a bunch of heat in Saudi Arabia. But
I think it's going to go. You don't think it's going to go the other way? That maybe they'll have someone. I mean, Drew just interfered in everyone else's matches. Someone interfered in his match, cost him the belt, so you get the Saudi Arabia Sami Zayn title win?
No, because then they got to bring it back over here and come back to reality, and Sami ain't figured into plans for Drew and Cody and Fatu.
Does that three-way need a title?
One of those three guys needs to be the champion, regardless of whether the three-way needs title or not. So, no, they're not going to change the belt. But that's the point. That's a business decision that they could make to have Sammy win the match in Montreal and get the title match in goddamn Saudi Arabia. But at the same time, they could have gotten there a different way, a more intriguing way, a more interesting way than just had him win a Wandom four-way from Baba Wawa. A Wandom four-way is what he won. Daddy says sell.
Well, that was Saturday night's main event. That was how the show began, with Stephanie on on the introduction. But that was Saturday night's main event. Again, maybe the most lackluster edition of Saturday night's main event since they brought the show and the format or whatever it is back. But Jim, on this topic, let's preview this weekend as we are recording this weekend's Royal Rumble from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where a brand new stadium has been built in less than a month.
Here's another thing. I know they used to do that back in the old days in the 19 teens and 20s for the boxing matches especially, but are you going to trust that thing with 30,000 people sitting on it when they've just jacked it up in a month? Is there a potential for some type of structural flaw to be evident the first time this thing is ever used?
Do you know how many slave laborers would be slaughtered if one of those section of bleachers caved in? I don't think it'll happen.
And no, hey, we used to have fun talking about how dare they send the boys over to Saudi Arabia and to be held hostage and kidnapped and things. It's so dangerous. Well, it's safer than Minneapolis, so we can't make those comments anymore.
Yeah, unless you're gay or Jewish or speak out against the regime or anything else.
And what happens if one of the girls takes a backdrop and accidentally tears the clothing off one of the other girl? Who goes to jail, the stripper or the strippee?
That's an interesting question. If there's a wardrobe, I can't talk either. If there's a wardrobe malfunction.
If there's a wardrobe malfunction.
If there is one, is the malfunctionee punished for an inadvertent, nipple?
Well, see that was nearly adjudicated in southern Indiana one night. I thought, was it Dale, Indiana? It may have been a spot show off the Evansville, Indiana television. Out in that direction, they were having the street fight matches, where in the Memphis street fights in 1981 they wore street clothes, and the winner was the person who stripped the fucking other person down to their skivvies, right? That was the street fight. You had to rip the clothes off. And Teeny called them, they're having a rip the clothes off match again. So it was Jimmy Hart and a couple of his heels in like a 6-man with Dundee and whoever the fuck. And the point of that's when they used to fuck with Jimmy Hart. And not only did they strip him down, but they pulled his underwear off. And he ran back to the fucking locker room with his hand over his Franken beans in one and his hand covering his crack on the other side. He ran lickety split to the locker room. And the fucking news spread through this little town of like 1,500 or 2,000 people. The headline in that weekend, because it was a weekly paper. The newspaper only came out like once a week. That weekend, not only did the preachers preached about the naked wrestling at church, but there was a headline, Naked Wrestling Sparks Controversy. And they wouldn't let him come back with another spot show after that because they stripped Jimmy Hart naked. And Teeny was pissed.
Are you a heel? If you are, let's say there's a women's match, one-on-one. I guess you would be a heel, but what if the heel just starts ripping off the babyface's clothes? I'm glad you said that, because in the newspaper article about it,
they had been, the local police chief had asked whether they were going to press any charges, and they said they couldn't exactly figure out, because of the situation, whether to charge the person who was stripped naked because he was the naked one or whether to charge the person who stripped him naked against his will. And they finally just left it. They said, if none of these people ever just comes back to town, we won't do anything.
Well, once again, we are previewing the Royal Rumble.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia in the midst of a wonderful rebranding, which you could see each week on WWE TV with these wonderful tourism commercials.
It's always the season in Riyadh.
Always bonesaw season. But Jim, let's get to the matches here. As announced so far, now, recent WWE Premium Live events have been 4 or 5 matches, and there are 2 guaranteed hour-long matches, so...
Oh, Christ.
But in a career-threatening match, AJ Styles versus Gunther. If Styles loses, he is forced to retire.
A career-threatening match. Boy, if this one stinks, he's done. I said earlier, I can't figure out what they're doing because they've just announced recently that AJ Styles is going to retire in 2026, and then suddenly he's putting his career up against Gunther. And if he was not going to lose this, I don't know why they would not book him against somebody else that he could beat without doing damage to Gunther. So I don't know what purpose it would serve for anyone to interfere in this match. We'll see what happens, but I got to think Gunther's going over.
I would have thought so all along. I kind of do think so still. It's interesting that they made this match. It's interesting that Gunther just retired 2 other wrestlers, and this is part of that. To me, that's the only out for AJ to win. If Gunther is kicking the crap out of him and on the verge of winning, and some hero, some babyface, or someone who would be a babyface, says, I don't want to see AJ go out like this, and does something to screw over Gunther, causing Gunther to say, hey, Brock Lesnar, I don't like that, or hey, Chris Jericho, I don't like, whoever it may be.
Oh, good Lord.
I'm just trying to think of other people he could potentially argue he could retire, right? Because that has to be part of it. It can't be like, Javon Evans, I'm not going to forgive you for this. It has to be another old fart about to go.
Well, and again, I don't know that I like him getting stuck in that. If it's to build to Brock, that's fine. But just anything extraneous, not meant to go in that direction with just let's find some old people for him to retire, I don't think we need to go any further with that.
Jim, for the undisputed WWE Championship, the champion Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn.
I think it's going to be a wonderful match and have the people are going to be spirited. And in the end, Drew is not, they're not going to switch the title. I'm not saying that Cody and Jacob Fatu might not show up and do something or whatever, but Sami is not winning the title. Let's put it that way.
Well, we'll see. Again, one of the big
they're not afraid to just do a DQ out of nowhere anymore. So anything could happen, but the belt ain't changing hands.
But considering where they are, this is like, screwing over Jack Veneno in Dominican Republic or something. Like, you may have to worry about this.
I don't think anybody's coming with a fucking knife under their robe or sash or whatever.
And the only thing I'll say, not to support this because I don't like the idea of it, but if Sami did win and someone screwed over Drew, we're right back to Drew McIntyre had everything going, had the world on a string, and then someone screwed him over. Jacob Fatu, Cody Rhodes.
No, but
they're both due. They're both due.
It's going in the wrong direction. They would not do that. They'd be crazy to do that right now. I don't want to go on with you like that.
If you're talking about your singing, I agree. Jim.
Don't want to be a feather in your cap.
Let's not hurt the listeners' feelings. Jim, the Women's Royal Rumble, a 30-woman Royal Rumble match for a title shot at WrestleMania 42 against one of the women's world champions. We have some of the names that have been announced so far.
30 people fighting for the right to have a match against one of 2 people.
Jim, so far announced, Io Sky
Oh, God damn it.
Rhea Ripley, Roxanne Perez, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Bailey, Lyra Valkyria, Asuka, Chelsea Green, Jordan Grace, Charlotte Flair, Alexa Bliss, Nia Jax, Lash Legend, Julia, Maxine Dupree, and Becky Lynch. 17 women have been announced so far.
Oh, geez, there's 13 more besides that?
How would you like to be the surprise if it's in Saudi Arabia? Like, hey, we want you to make a surprise appearance at the Royal Rumble. By the way, bring more clothes than you have.
Yeah, bring a scuba diver's outfit. That's another thing. If we get 30 of them in the ring and they're all covered head to toe, are we going to be able to figure out who's who? I guess we can spot the fridge pretty easy. Out of all the names you mentioned, obviously Rhea Ripley, out of the names you mentioned, I would put Rhea Ripley over, or Liv Morgan over, or Becky Lynch over, or potentially do some major spot with good old Rochelle Rodriguez to make her the Diesel-esque character of the thing. And otherwise, I wish they wouldn't just do an hour of this.
You know, with all the booking problems recently, I have to say they may be booking Raquel Rodriguez better now than they ever have before. But
which would be faint praise.
Faint praise. We'll see what happens. Jim, before I get to the men's match, which is the other match listed here, I guess important to note, no CM Punk. No CM Punk world title match here on the show, at least as of now, as we are recording a week out.
Well, they got 4 whole matches. What the fuck? What do you expect?
Well, Jim, the men's Royal Rumble, once again, the winner gets a guaranteed title shot at WrestleMania against either champion. Here are the 15 competitors so far announced. Cody Rhodes, Gunther, Jey Uso, Rey Mysterio, Dragon Lee, Penta, Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Jacob Fatu, Braun Breaker, Logan Paul, Bronson Reed, Austin Theory, Javon Evans, and finally Oba Femi.
Boy, they've got some names in there. Cody, obviously, has already teased, I'm going to win the Royal Rumble 3 times, which may be stretching it. Gunther's in it. Roman Reigns is in it. Although I think Roman may go off onto an island unto himself if there's going to be anything to The Rock being involved. Roman doesn't need to interact with anybody else.
Wait, you think The Rock's going to be involved?
If The Rock's going to be involved in WrestleMania.
Oh.
Roman doesn't need a title match or to win one.
He didn't get an Oscar nomination.
He didn't get an Oscar nomination. Yeah.
But Marissa McMahon did.
That's right, for producing some fucking documentary.
Yeah.
Jacob Fatu's in there for whatever that counts, and Braun Breaker. But there's a number of names that you could see winning the thing, and that doesn't even take into account if Brock is there. So that, again, that's why I wish they wouldn't have the women's before the men's to take the edge off the men's, because the men's is where all the star power is. But at this point, pick it. They've got and then there's still the Elimination Chamber, which can determine who gets the other title shot at the other champion, and blah, blah, blah. And there's too many variables in the men's scene to really predict with any certainty. But again, an hour for this, an hour for the other. And look up on the internet, because I've got books, but it would take me a while to get over there and find it. But what was the card for the Royal Rumble in, say, 1998 or 97 or 96? I booked some of these. I should remember, but...
You just gave me multiple years, but I got 98 in front of me.
Okay.
98, there was obviously a men's Royal Rumble, 30 competitors. Also on the show...
Does it say who was in that?
Cactus Jack, Chainsaw Charlie, Tom Brandy. Was he Tom Brandy? Was he Salvatore Sincere? Well, anyway, The Rock.
I bet he was Sal Sincere.
Mosh, Phineas Godwin, 8-Ball, Blackjack Bradshaw, Owen Hart, Steve Blackman, D'Lo Brown, Kurgan, Mark Merrow, Ken Shamrock, Thrasher, Mankind, the artist formerly known as Goldust.
Oh, remember, because Mick, Mankind, and Cactus were all three in it.
And Dude Love, that's right. The artist formerly known as Goldust, Jeff Jarrett, the Honky Tonk Man, I forgot about that, Ahmed Johnson, Mark Henry, Skull, Kama Mustafa, the eventual winner, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Henry O'Godwin, Savio Vega, Farouk, Dude Love, Chains, and finally, Vader.
So in all seriousness, you have a Royal Rumble with Mick Foley at 3 different times. The Rock, Steve Austin, Vader, Ken Shamrock, Owen Hart, Goldust. So there's a Rumble. So that's one match.
And here are the matches. Vader versus the artist formerly known as Goldust with Luna. Max Mini, Mosaic, and Nova defeated Battalion, El Torito, and Tarantula.
And that's when Vince was trying the Mexican minis.
With Sonny as a special guest referee. The Rock defeated Ken Shamrock by disqualification for the Intercontinental title, or at least it was a championship match. The Legion of Doom defeated the New Age Outlaws by disqualification. Stone Cold Steve Austin won the Royal Rumble, and then finally, in a casket match, an infamous casket match, Shawn Michaels, with Triple H in China, defeated The Undertaker.
So at that Royal Rumble, you had not only a Royal Rumble with Mick Foley ×3, with The Rock, with Steve Austin, with Vader, with Owen, with Goldust, with Shamrock, etc. You also had Vader against Goldust in an angle match. The Rock against Ken Shamrock for the Intercontinental title. The Road Warriors and the Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, and Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker in a casket match. That's not a throwaway fucking card.
Well, because they cared about selling pay-per-views back then. And they did. I think
exactly. This is the kind of shit we used to have to fucking produce. Or if we'd come up with, oh, here, Vince, we're going to have this 3-hour pay-per-view with 4 matches. And what?
And by the way, this is important to note too, the match times. Vader Goldust, 7 minutes 51 seconds. Mexican Minis, 7 minutes 48 seconds. Rock and Shamrock, 10:52. Legion of Doom and New Age Outlaws, 7:57. Royal Rumble, must have shaved time, 55 minutes 24 seconds. And finally, the casket match, 20 minutes 37 seconds. As opposed to every match being 25 minutes, it tiered up the way it should.
Yeah, no match besides Shawn and Undertaker in the Rumble needed 20 minutes or more. And that's obviously bell to bell and not counting the entrances and etc. But also it was a 2-hour and 50-minute show. It had to be, because we had a 3-hour pay-per-view window and they wanted 10 minutes to rewind the fucking tape before the replay. So that's why you had a 2-hour and 50-minute fucking pay-per-view.
This will be airing 1 p.m. on Saturday. Will you be watching live?
No.
Why not? Middle of the day. You have no excuse.
I don't want to ruin my day that early. And actually, I've planned to do some more fucking filing in the office on Saturday as part of my organization project around the castle. And also that way, if it's happened afterwards, I can, because I'm paying attention to what I need to pay attention to, I can zip through the various advertisements telling me how that they don't cut people's heads off over there anymore and everything's fine, and get to the matches.
Non-stop tourism. Hey, here's some of your favorite WWE superstars hanging out by the beach here. You may notice the women are wearing a ton of clothes. Wow, this is such a great environment here in Saudi Arabia. They hide all the violence from us. We're treated like stars. Royal Rumble in Riyadh this coming weekend. Jim?
Yes.
About 300,000 pay-per-view buys estimated for the 98 Royal Rumble. They don't have to worry about pay-per-view buys nowadays. Doesn't seem like they worry about ticket sales. Doesn't seem like they worry about anything other than the stock price and making sure the Saudis are happy.
They got no worries.
There was a time the business was all about selling. Selling tickets, selling in the ring, whatever it may be.
Selling pay-per-views.
Selling pay-per-views, and perhaps mom and pop America out there are developing their own pay-per-views.
Pop might be selling mom.
Well, no.
If mom's still frisky enough, even though that she's older, if she's still frisky enough and has the energy, then Pop could set up a hell of a business, and they could both retire if he was just selling mom. But he could give her like a quota per day.
Again, maybe not the best example. Certainly not
Folks,
one.
If you'd like to advertise your mother on Shopify.
That's not how it works. Let's get away from this awful example and let's talk about business, Jim. Let's talk about commerce. Let's talk about the hardworking listeners out there who work hard to develop their business, create their products, and need a little help, a little support online to get the word out, to make sure that everyone has an easy way to pay, to make sure that all the things are taken care of. They help us.
Make sure that the money is collected, and if these people don't have the money when they promise to pay, that somebody's going to go over there and take a ruler to their knuckles. That type of thing.
I don't know about that kind of thing, but Jim.
But, I always thought those mom and pop stores, I took it literally. I thought, well, mom and pop, they're a little freaky, but nevertheless, millions of entrepreneurs, folks, have already made the leap from doing it themselves. You don't want to be doing it yourself. You want to have somebody doing it with you. You want to have somebody that knows what they're doing, that's experienced, that knows all the angles and all the different spots and the ways that you can capitalize on everything. And that's why you need to be with Shopify. And you don't even need to use protection, folks, because Shopify is safe. Millions of people have already made the leap to Shopify, from household names to first-name business owners just getting started, virgins, you might say, that had never experienced the deflowering that comes with getting your brand and your store and your product and your dream out to millions and millions of people, where it can be used and used and used again, and bought and sold and bought and sold, until finally it's discarded like a Kleenex on the peep show booth floor of life. Setup is fast with Shopify's built-in AI tools, and marketing is built in too by Cracky, where they'll create email and social campaigns that reach customers wherever they are. Many times Shopify has sent a team out to cover all of the restrooms in a particular metropolitan area, the gas stations and the flea markets and any place of rest areas where people will stop to take a piss, and they will write your number down on the wall. So people will be calling you from all over the place.
They don't do that at all. You don't have to worry. They don't do that. I don't know why the ching would happen now.
That kid with the bicycle always shows up every time there's some shit we're arguing about.
Once again, we're talking about, all fun and games aside, all metaphorical fun and games, we're talking about real business. We're talking about real money. We're talking about real support. We're talking about you having someone you could trust, and also your customers knowing they're going to have an easy checkout, and they will be.
They're going to be checking you out, all right. When Shopify puts these pictures they've got of you up on the internet, people will be checking you out all over the world.
There are no pictures they're going to be putting out on the internet. They'll be putting your business all over the place. It's candid
photography. If you want to transform yourself, folks, into an entrepreneur and a founder and a boss, you can't just squat down in the parking lot and poop out a website. You need to go to the professionals, and Shopify can hold your hand and help you every step of the way, from where you're just a little small embryo in the business world all the way to where you're a flower, blossoming and growing wild out in the fields of success. So if you'd like to be growing wild out in the field, go to Shopify right now, shopify.com, and you can sign up for a $1 a month trial period with the code JCE. That's shopify.com/JCE, a $1 a month trial period, and they'll show you how they can help you with various ways to manipulate yourself into pleasure and success. And if you'd like to be shown manipulating yourself, then all you got to do,
once again, not an example,
is go to Shopify.
No, that's not all you have to do. You don't have to go there for that. You have to go there to help your business. Again, we trust them with our business. You could trust them with yours.
Yes, put your business in their hands.
Our fine friends at Shopify. Jim, I understand. In your hands right now, you have a wonderful link and a promo code to share with the listeners.
Yes, Shopify.com/JCE. $1 a month trial period. Just put them in your hands or put it in their hands, or one hand will rub the other. Shopify.